I would change the name of this to handle messages. I would take a message and a class name, like so. Or maybe type instead of class name. I do type. And then I would say messages dot inner text equals message and type, or let's see, messages dot class name equals alert. Oops, I want to do this as this. Alert, and then alert type. Oops. That. Okay. And then when you came down here, let's see, instead of doing, okay, so we could say handle messages, success, and then success. And somewhere I have this open. So if I was to book number 20, and I said book it, oh, then it should do this, but it didn't. All right, let's see why. Called handle messages, got messages, right? I wonder if this isn't running. Oh, it is. Okay. Wonder if it hadn't refreshed. There we go. Okay. And then if you want to, you can also have like a let timeout, and then you can say if timeout, actually put timeout up here. If timeout, clear timeout, timeout, and then we can say set timeout handle messages link string info, and then give it like 5 seconds. And then when I book, after 5 seconds, that timeout will reset that back to just the regular blue without me having to do anything.
Thanks for doing that.
Yeah. So, and when I submit this, since this was successful, I should clear these out too. So you'll have to do that as well. I think you can do like event.target clear, maybe. Nope. What is it? Clear form.
Would this event.target exist within the like successful condition?
Event.target would be the form because that's the target of whatever the event was. So this is going to be your form because your form is what called this from this event listener, right? Because the book form hit the submit event, and then we call book.
Mm-hmm.
We expect to get the submit event. So the target of that event is the form. So anytime you have an event, whatever's created the event will be the target on the event,
Okay.
and it's reset. So. So. That gives you that handle messages function, but for now the validation and the checkout are on your own if you haven't finished those pieces. And let's jump back into the exercises. Does that sound okay?
Yep, that's great.
Okay. I think we're on 16. We finished 15, right? Yes. All right. Remove every other. Create a function named remove every other that accepts an array. Create a new array by skipping every other element in the parameter array starting at the second. Return the new array. Hint, filter is useful here. Shoot, I was going to say, which function do you think on the array you should use? But they ruined it. Okay, so let's create a function, const remove every other, accepts an array, and then returns an array. So array.filter, item, what do I need to do to this item so that it removes every other item in the array if I'm going to use filter to do this? Everybody try and do this and see.
Okay.
Filter also gives us an index and the list. You can do it with those or you can do it without. Works either way. We got it figured out.
Getting there.
Getting there.
No, here, I'm getting there. Not quite, I put it here, but it's on mine. So I get it. It's not going to say it, that's not down here yet.
Oh, I see. So, yeah, you could do item module 2 is equal to 0, and that'll take out every other one. Yep.
Yep, remainder.
The other thing you could do is you could use the index and see if the index is divisible by 2. But I guess it would be the index, right? Index. It's
Yeah,
item.
instead of item.
Yeah, we'd do index.
Okay. Because the other,
So then if you do node exercise 16, it's great success.
So you're passing array filter an item and an index, and then the index you're dividing it by 2.
Yeah, so filter will call this function and it will pass it the item and the index and the list. We don't have to use the list if we don't want to, but the index is going to be 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, whatever the index of the item in the array is. Right, so we're going to check if the index is divisible by 2. If it is, then we would remove it from the array.
And is the divisible by 2 of the first two being the second?
Yeah, so everything that was divisible by 2 would be even, right?
Right. Oh, okay.
Or I guess if it's not divisible by 2, it won't make it into the array. So it's going to skip 2 and 4 because that's numbers 1 and 3.
Yeah, keeping things simple.
Yeah. So,
And why is it equal to 0?
because if it's divisible by 2, this returns the remainder.
yeah,
So there would be no remainder if it's divisible by 2.
exactly.
If it's not divisible by 2, it would remainder 1. Yeah. Because every other number is divisible by 2.
Right, so you started with 2. and-
Yeah.
Yeah.
It starts with 0. 0
Oh,
is
0,
divisible
2,
by
4,
2
6.
as well,
Okay, gotcha.
apparently.
So that makes it how much easier, just skip every other one.
Good mod. I guess the remainder of 0 divided by 2 is 0.
0.
So, which actually doesn't work, right? You can't divide 0, or you can't divide by 0. Which one is it?
Divide by 0.
You can't divide it to the
Okay.
black hole,
Yes.
doesn't work.
So, all right, number 17.
Okay,
Merge and remove duplicates. Create a function named merge and remove. It accepts 2 arrays, so we'll say array 1, array 2. Create a new array that contains elements from both arrays with duplicates removed. Duplicates should be removed if they occur in a single parameter array or if there's a duplicated element in each parameter. Return the result. So then if we look at the test cases, we would remove,
can I ask you a question?
Yeah.
So the reason you use parameters to identify arrays instead of the array brackets is because it's a statement, or, I mean, what is the reason?
it's what's being passed in
Oh, okay, so. and
to the
that's why.
function.
Okay,
So it's an array here,
right, so you don't
but
have
here
to.
it's just a
It's
variable.
just a statement,
It's a variable.
it's a variable,
Yeah,
okay.
so
Gotcha.
it's passed to my function as a variable, and then I can use that variable like it's an array.
Okay,
So, and I can expect it to be an array, so I can use
Gotcha.
array functions on it.
exactly, instead of just, gotcha,
Hmm.
understand.
But if somebody was to pass me something that wasn't an array, I'd have an error unless I check to make sure I'm getting arrays every time, which is also a good thing to do. So,
Is there are multiple, is that there's multiple arrays in each one?
It-
Would you have to deconstruct them?
so we're gonna get 2 arrays always, And what we're supposed to do is take the first one and the second one and merge them together.
Mm.
And then we're supposed to remove any duplicates. And I think, let's see how this works. 1, 2, true. Yeah, it doesn't matter. So essentially what you want to do is merge. You do a merge and then you would remove any of the duplicates from the end, I guess. But it looks like the way they have the test cases, it wouldn't matter if you took them from the end or the first. But this one doesn't give you a hint. So what array method would be helpful in this situation?
Concentration.
Okay, you could do a concat and then, but you'd need to remove the duplicates.
But you would do that after, yeah? Or you would do it during? If you do it after, yeah, like you said.
So filter wouldn't work because what filter does is you would give it a function to run, and if it gets true or false, right?
So if it's like array 1 equals array 2, then take it out.
Find a solution that uses set.
You could use sets, but it said to use an array.
So that's why I asked you earlier about
It's array
sets.
dot from.
Yeah, so you're creating a set and then returning an array from the set. You could do that. It's an easy way because sets automatically reduce.
Use this one. You only use it one time.
I just gave you the answer.
Reduce.
Yeah, I would use reduce. But you could use a set. In fact, you could,
I forget how do you,
I think const set equals new set and then array 1, array 2. Does that work? Console log set. Let's see what happens. Yeah, so we get a set and then we would do return array dot from set. And then it throws an error and says, no, that didn't work. But I don't know why. So, oh, it's missing the 3. I wonder if we did this. There. So this is how you would do concatenation with the spread. Instead of doing like array 1 dot concat array 2, you can just create an array and spread the array variables into it. So this would work. Another way you could do this is by reducing. So you could say array 1, or let's see, we'd probably do array 2 dot reduce, and then who remembers what reduce does?
it reduces?
Calculate the single value from many values in an array.
It accepts the function.
Feels like you read that from documentation somewhere.
My girl.
So it accepts a function, and the function has the accumulator, so the previous value, I usually call it accumulator, and then the current value gives you those two things. It also gives you the index and the list if you need them, but we usually don't need them. And then you also pass it as the second parameter your initial value, and in this case I'm going to make the initial value the first array, so I don't have to concatenate them. So now when I get this accumulator, it's going to be array 1. and the current is going to be the first element in array 2. Okay, so the current value. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to say if accumulator dot includes cur, return accumulator, else return accumulator and cur. Okay, so we're going to look at the current array and say if it includes the current item, then just return the array without putting that new item in. But if it doesn't include it, then return a new array made of the spread of what was in that array plus the new item. And then we also need to return this. We can implicitly return if we wanted to, but then it doesn't work for some reason. Actual 1, 1, 2, 3. Oh, ha, ha, ha.
Is it just because it's making the assumption that there's no duplicates
In the first one, yeah. All right, so instead of that, we'd have to do a spread like up here. And then start with an empty array. And then that will fix it. So either of these methods would work. Either the set or reducing. Yeah, I didn't read the test cases and see that there was some that had duplicates in the test cases on both sides. Okay, everybody got it? Or one of them?
So the accumulator and the current. Let's just,
This one?
Yeah,
You can name these whatever you want.
okay.
So it could be previous, it could be whatever. So this is going to start out as whatever you pass it here. Okay, and then each time it runs through, whatever you return will be this. So
Okay.
yeah, it doesn't have to be an array. If I didn't return an array in this function, then it would get whatever I did return, or it would get undefined, and then each time through it would be whatever was returned the last time. But it starts as whatever's here. I like the set way, and I just thought of a new way to do the set way, so it could be one line. Let's do it. Right? Yeah. There you go, Christian. And you could take the return out and make it a single line if you wanted to with an implicit return. Oh, to create a function that calls itself, you do that. But it's not very often that you need to do that. Sometimes, but no, it's called an IIFE. IIFE, immediately invoked function expression. Are we good on this one?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
All right, number 18. Create a function named makeObject, return an object with 3 properties. Name is grumpy and favorite colors. Execute this exercise. If you see the message success, all tests passed. Oh, okay. It wants exactly that stuff. So make object equals a function. And if you wanted to implicitly return, because you could in this one, with an object, because an object uses curly braces, if you put parentheses around it, then that tells the function that you're returning an object. Okay, so I'll take you that far. The rest of it should be easy to figure out. It just wants 3 properties in that object with the name, and it wants it set to Timmy, and then the other 2 values of what, and it says what they should be. I keep forgetting to bring a blanket.
Put across your legs,
Uh,
over your shoulder,
Just like
just all over
a
your
shawl.
And put like a hot water. You just bring a hot water bag. Sit on that. I can see it. It was like a bowl of hot water soup with his nose over it.
Sometimes it does get freezing here, just holding the coffee works sometimes. Yeah.
Take you up to Pittsburgh sometime. How's that? I feel that real cold air.
No, they're like, not as big as they used to be, I'm cold all
See, that's what it
the
is.
time, it's so irritating.
100 pounds ago, I would freeze easy. I was always cold.
Super.
But now I'm like a bear. So I was like, bring someone cold. It's flesh. So I can be cold again. That's how you gauge how much weight you lose if you're cold enough.
Yeah.
One day when I come in, I'm cold, yay!
The lights were on when I went down the hall, and they were off when I came back. It was super creepy.
The hallway is creepy.
I know. All right, everybody get it?
Nope, I did not.
So, I'll give you a hint. That's one hint. It essentially just wants that.
Hmm.
Success.
I'll catch on from the hint.
I thought I could.
Yeah, no,
The next,
the comma.
the next one's down here. And then if you run it, look how it says actual is named Timmy, but I expected it to be this. Just wants me to return an object exactly like the object that is expected. Like that office at the end of the hall that's empty now.
Yeah.
It's like $500 to rent it a month.
Depends on how much you use it. How many hours do you get?
I don't know.
Because if that's unlimited, that's not terrible for renting a space.
I think it's yours for $500 a month.
Mine?
When I first moved,
Yeah, like
I did that. I lived in a place like that for 3 years.
you lived in an office.
I lived in a commercial space that was renting rooms for, and I put on my door, I put like a logo. Company is that like just the front, and inside I had a couch that folded to a bed.
Honestly,
Yeah.
I feel like I could do that.
Yeah,
because
I did that.
I'd save money on
I
rent.
saved money,
But
bro.
the issue
I
is
saved money for
showering.
Yeah, I was gonna say.
Well,
where
I
did you
had a shower.
at the
At
beach?
we had a shower in our building.
Oh,
So after 6 o'clock, when everybody went home, it was my
There's
building.
the gym nearby.
Yeah,
but
exactly,
I don't know
you
if the
shower.
showers are still closed because of COVID.
I did that, man. I mean, this building's different though, because
Yeah.
mine was the design center. You know what Hoku Foods is?
Yeah.
Yeah, that building.
Oh,
I was the
really?
only resident who
They
lived
have
there.
commercial space there?
Yeah, it used to be only commercial, and I used to live up there. And everybody who worked there knew I lived there.
The upper spaces were very,
Yeah, they're terrible now.
they're like full of garbage.
But they're
Just
terrible,
sitting
bro.
there.
It was businesses, so then he turned into apartments and it just gutted them and put like a whole system in there, you know, for sinks and stuff in each room. But we didn't have that. It was really nice. It was really nice. It's
I can
terrible.
tell it's like apartments now, but like it's empty.
He got the idea from me.
Yeah.
Because I lived there, the owner found out, he tried to kick me out, but he said, well, you know, you're security for the building, so we'll let you stay.
Yeah. There you go.
did he pay you?
Should have paid me. Well, they moved me to the Dragon building to do the same
Oh.
thing, and they gave me discount rent to do the same thing there.
Nice.
I had some pretty good years there, but.
All right, everybody get it? So I'm just gonna copy the rest of this, so I don't have to type it because typing's for suckers. And that's it. I just wanted
That
you to
was
make
quick.
an object exactly the same as the other object. That's why they said return an object with 3 properties. Name is grumpy and favorite, and make them equal to these things.
So I did it without knowing I did it.
Yeah, probably. There you go. Okay, so now number 19. That's one of the ones where it's setting you up for like a further on one.
Yeah.
We're all going on Instagram now.
Candy.
Okay, create a new function called make object. I remember something called make object before. All right. And take 3 strings as parameters. Assign the first parameter to a title property, so I'm going to call it title. Second parameter to a first name property. You see where this is going, right? And return an object. I'll let you figure out the rest.
Thank you for that.
Is there a way to do this and it says success but it's still wrong?
No, I don't. If you're getting success, then it worked.
Okay, cool.
She didn't need me to see it.
Yeah. Because it won't make it through the asserts if you didn't do it right. Everybody got it? Yes? So I'm assuming you all did space first name, space last name, first name, last name, like that? Sweet. You can also do it all on one line, and then Prettier will make it multiple lines. Go! Success. All right, number 20. Oh, this one's fun. Print a business card. Create a function called print business card that accepts an object. The object may contain the following properties: job title, first name, and last name. And pithy phrase. Anybody ever heard of a pithy phrase? Okay, me either. So, print a business card in the following format: first name, last name, job title, pithy phrase. If any property is missing, omit it. If a missing property creates an empty line, omit the line. Hint: object destructuring is useful but not required here. Okay, so const print business card equals function that accepts an object. This is how you would destructure it, right? And then we would console.log business card equals, and I'll let you all start to figure out how to do a business card that looks like this when you console.log it.
Mm.
Okay, so this one, yes, you can have it not be right because it's just running your function and it's telling you it should look like this or like this or like this or like this.
Gotcha.
Okay? So take a few minutes to figure this one out. You may need this to be let business card
Mm.
if you're going to change the const.
Do you have to use tick marks instead of quotes?
You can use either one. Depends on how you do it. Exactly.
It's a quick phrase to put in there, like exercise 20. It's good. Burn out.
Is it forward tick and back tick? So you go like this with the N in the middle, or like this with the N in the middle, greater than line?
Oh, it's this one. The backslash,
Oh, okay.
right? That's backslash. 'Cause it's forward slash is that one, backslash is that one. That's a new line. I'll just leave it up there. When you destructure an object, does it matter what order you destructure in? Do you need to destructure in the order that they give you the object elements? It does not matter. Trick question. That's one of the nice things about accepting an object as a parameter.
Yeah, keep it on now. Like it up. Are you not including somebody that's on the phone?
That's messed up. Change my mind.
Okay, Google.
That's a Mac though. You can only say okay Google to a Chromebook. Let's say hey Siri.
Not fast enough.
What?
We're trying to do the Slack sound.
What's the slap?
The Slack notification.
Oh. It's like, oh, you can't do it with my mouth. I was just making noise. Last name. Pithy phrase. It's a dumb thing. I'm gonna do this really easy way with a ton of if statements. Business card plus equals first name. If last name business card plus equals last name if job title business card plus equals job title. Oh, I need this though. If not last name and first name business card plus equals if what's the pithy phrase business card plus equals pithy phrase.
YouTube.
Now, I'm also gonna just add a space at the top so that they're spread out, because otherwise it will annoy me. That's one way you could do it. You could do it as like, let's see. First name, last name. Oh, let's see. Actually, we do a thing inside of here. I don't know if this works or not. This first line is the hard line. It's gotta be smart. And then job title, and then pithy phrase. I guess you could do this. Yeah, you could just do this. Right, and then I could do dot trim. See if that works. Let's get rid of all my extra. Okay. Yeah, there we go. But it has like a weird thing there, so we'll just do that. Nope, still does a weird thing with the first and last name, where it's got like a. There we go. So either of those would work. This is a lot easier to read. This is probably how I'd write it in an application. This seems like somebody could easily break it just by looking at it. So I would say get rid of that one. And just do this one. Were your solutions close to that?
Surprisingly, it wasn't too far off, just the extent, like, instead of, if I put that, of course, I don't know yet. And where his first name, I keep it the first name of the person. But I had a lot of that, including, I didn't have parameters around first name, actually.
Okay.
Mine is,
It was lined up.
oh, job title is actually first.
It is? In what?
Oh.
It doesn't matter.
The expected outcomes, which is.
Shouldn't be first, it should be second.
Yeah.
Oh, in the last one, there is no first or last name. I don't know why they did it in this order. I typically do, when I destructure an object, I typically do it in alphabetical order because it drives me crazy now too.
You gotta know the alphabet to do an alphabetical order.
Yeah, that's true.
Some of us don't.
Yeah, most of us don't. Depends on the alphabet.
Dyslexic. Some people
I think it's called dyslexia. Last time I
Dyslexia.
read it, that's how I read it.
No. Dyslexia.
What's the backslash N?
What?
The backslash N?
That's new line.
Oh,
Oh, okay.
that's cool. Did not know that.
So that's why on this one, if there was, so I'd add the first name and then I add the last name with the backslash or the new line.
Right.
But if there wasn't a last name, then I wouldn't have run this line, and so I need to add it if there was a first name.
So that's why I
Mhm.
didn't have it.
So that's why this one's there.
Gotcha.
So when you do it with the backticks, this will take your whatever you formatted it as. So we didn't have the backticks or the backslash n
Right.
because it would just use these.
Gotcha.
Okay.
Mystery guest sounds like a real hoot. Where are the parties?
It's just their title. It's not who they are.
Yeah. Um,
It's because it's a mystery. All right, number 21. We're almost done, you guys. I'm kind of sad.
It's actually helping.
All right. Merge objects. Create a function named merge objects that accepts two objects. Merge the objects into a single object. Result with a property by property merge. If the second object has the same properties as the first, the result object uses the second. Spread syntax is helpful here. Useful here. So I will write nothing on this one. This one's up to you. You have to come up with the name of the function which they've given you.
Oh, maybe.
You should use the one they told you, or else your tests will fail.
Mhm.
Alright, who's got it? Anybody?
When I did my readings,
Mm-hmm.
I remember it saying it didn't like me to use, okay, no, that was variables. Okay, well, it's probably different than the parameter, but like words like object, or things that are usually like, I didn't,
Yeah, you can't use
Where
the
is it?
word like object like that because that's a reserved word.
exactly.
But you can use like
But you can use it like
this.
that in the parameters,
Yeah.
yeah. Okay,
Or you could say like first and second, or you can name it really whatever you want.
exactly.
If it turns blue like that, well, I guess not there, but like if I was to do object and array
Mm.
and then try and do something here with it. Oh, I should call the right exercise. I should get a different error,
Right,
but
but it's because you use two different,
yeah, well, it's if I was to try and use this somewhere,
Right.
it would not know how to
exactly, because
work
it's
with it because it's a reserved word. So yeah, you don't want to ever name a
because
variable
it's-
with
it's
a reserved
keyword,
word.
yeah, is that what it
Yeah.
is? Okay, gotcha.
So yeah, like const is one,
Let,
let,
if,
function, if, else. So any of those words that you use that are
Okay.
syntax words are reserved, and you can't use them within variables, or else you'll have bad times. Anybody close? Think they're close? Feels like they're close? You're gonna be so mad when you see it.
Yeah, I know I am.
I tried a couple simple ways, but
What'd you try?
first I just put cross merge objects equals test cases, and then I didn't know if that was right, and then I passed it merged equals, and I just spread the first two things.
Okay. It's pretty close. You wouldn't use test cases because that's just what they're using for their tests. So the tests in this one are written a little different. They made an array of test cases, and then they loop through their array and call them all. It seems like the person that wrote the test was having fun. You want to keep trying, or ready? Ready?
Fast.
Ready?
Just rip off the bending.
Are you ready? Okay, here we go. I'm going to return an object, and it's going to be object 1 and object 2, and that's it.
Stop it.
I won't stop it.
Stop it, bro.
I
Stop
won't.
killing me, man.
That's all it
My
is.
want to be everything complex brain of mine.
I tried to
He's gonna
declare
kill me of
it
my,
something
my
else
disease
and
of
put it
complicating
down.
everything.
I
This
don't
class will
look
do
at
it.
I just need to take out everything before that.
Yeah, right?
Just need to delete everything and write that.
God, it's so simple.
So it passes object one and object two through it.
Anytime you spread objects like this, if they have the same keys, then the last one wins. So, and that's what they wanted you to do. They wanted the first one to, or the results of the, if they had the same, then the result object uses the second object. And then it said spread syntax is useful here. What it meant was just use
You
spread
just use
syntax.
Right, syntax only.
Just spread the objects into a new object.
But you know that if I did it that simple, then it has to be complex, you
Got
know.
it in my brain.
No,
No.
the answer is never complex.
Well, that's just
As
trying
soon
to
as
say
the answer becomes complex,
If-
you've done too much.
Too much,
Yeah.
okay.
And you should look at your code and say, how can I simplify this?
Yes. Pass it over.
Next, 22. Extract names. Create a function named extract names that accepts an array of objects. Transform the array into a new array that only contains strings. Strings are drawn from the object's name property, but only if it exists. Return the result. The map method is useful here. What they mean is use the map method. So const extract name equals array array.map item, and then I'll let you decide from there what to do. This is the last time I'm writing the function for you, though.
You're right.
You have to do it yourself from now on. There's only 2 left. Oh, sorry. Travis is right. I shouldn't have given that to you guys. I said I wouldn't, and I lied. So now you have to figure it out on your own.
So I messed.
Travis's fault.
Thanks for keeping us honest, Travis.
I feel like I need to hear more of Travis's stories. Every time we hear Travis's stories, I'm like, what? It's amazing. He lived in an office building when he first moved here.
Oh, that was great. That was
Weren't you homeless while you were here for a little while, you said?
Huh?
You were homeless for a little while while you,
Oh,
while
yeah.
you were here?
For the first couple of months, I had, got a car and slept in that for a bit. My first day here, I tried to sleep on the beach right behind Shell Station. In Kapal. That beach right over there. And, yeah, this big bird flew over my head. And I'm like, no, I gotta get up. And I walked all the way to Kalapaki. With biker boots on. From Kapal to all the way to Kalapaki with biker boots on the highway. Hey man, I was seeking, I was looking for the soul.
Nice.
Yeah. One of those spiritual journeys is why I came here. Came here looking for simplicity, away from guns blazing.
Yeah, I remember that
Yeah.
from Georgia.
Yep.
Georgia.
ATL, the ATL.
ATL.
Yeah, the ATL. Down south.
Who has it? You done yet? Sandy, you got it? Teresa, you got it? Kamani has it. Don't add all the other stuff with the first Kamani. Just the one thing.
Are you sure I
Yes,
need all
just the
those?
one thing. If you do more than a couple of words here, you've gone too far.
Says to take it from the main property.
That is correct.
Does that have to be in parentheses?
No,
Prettier doesn't like that.
Prettier will hate that. If you do too much, you will be very upset with yourself. Bad times. I mean, you can write as much code as you want, but remember, typing is for suckers. Especially on this one, just like on the last couple.
Did something but not right.
Ready?
Hold on.
Okay.
I know I'm so close.
It is 7:48. At 7:50, I will reveal the solution.
Trying to get
That's how the mystery
It's coming,
guest
man.
does it. I would go raid the fridge, but I already looked in there, and all that's there is like a couple LaCroix. They just cleaned it out.
And my little,
I don't know. I kind
my
of
little creamer, my little drop of creamer.
Whose is it, do you
I
think?
don't know.
It's
It's been there for a couple
it's
weeks.
been there forever.
Better
So
get
I
it,
might
better
go
get it.
All our
I think
ice
all
cream's
of ours.
gone though.
Yeah, that's a fact.
They're gonna steal our ice cream.
And we're like, who's the client?
Well, because they've been taking my cream, I'm like, well, that gives me free dibs at everything else.
There you go. There you
That's
go.
what I'm saying. When they take what we put in, that means it's open game for everything.
Yeah, maybe it's because they actually
Take the
want
most
the ice
valuable
cream.
thing.
Maybe
Maybe we needed to put our name on it.
Yeah. Or put a tag for everybody.
This is ours.
I'm putting a tag on here for everybody because last time it was taken without permission.
Am I just like? I'm putting name
Yes?
and it's not returning. It's crossing it out.
Yeah.
Do I need to put it in tick marks? What?
It's crossing it out?
Yeah, it's straight up.
Here, I'll type what you tell me to
can
type.
add it.
Well, first, oh, whoops.
Just the hit controls you to get your thing back.
Okay. You have that?
Yeah.
Okay, now what?
I put name inside of the purple parentheses. Or pink.
Like that?
Yeah, and then it crosses it out. So I'm like, alright, and then it tick marks. And
And
then
then doesn't cross it out. How come yours crossed it out? I want whatever yours is doing to cross it out.
Oh.
But when I put it back into array,
Oh, it's still crossing.
array dot name, is that gonna do it? Doesn't.
What?
You're so close. It's so close.
Thanks. Array colon name?
No, you're getting further away.
Aw, getting colder.
Guys, array is this.
Yeah.
We're on item.
Item dot name. I swear. Alright. It was still wrong. That's good.
It shouldn't
I've been
be.
very angry.
It should be right. How come it's wrong?
I'm know, but I'm feeling fine.
That was
Oh.
amazing.
Okay, I'm fine, great. Stress rates are back though.
No, I've been having nightmares all week from stress.
No.
Yes.
Me too.
Horrible
It's
nightmares,
confused.
people being torn apart.
Yeah.
Ooh, stop it.
I'm not joking
I
either.
like
But I told you about those dreams I used to have.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So-
Those.
We could do, if there's not a name, then it's not, it's gonna return undefined or whatever else we send it. So what we could do is then filter afterwards and just filter out anything faulty, and that will work. So, and that filter, we've seen this before, but that one makes sense, yeah? What it's doing? Yeah, no? I'm taking that as, Christian's face says no.
He's the gauge, man. He's the gauge.
Okay, so I'm chaining these, yeah? So this one makes sense?
Yeah, not it.
I'm taking the name off if it exists. If it doesn't, I get undefined back, right? So undefined is falsy. So what are some falsy things? We have false, that's falsy, undefined, zero, null, zero, not a number is falsy. Is it falsy?
No, it's not.
I can't remember.
But I don't like it.
A blank string is faulty. Yeah, that's pretty much it. Okay, so if you get any of these, then they would return essentially false, right? So filter, remember, takes whatever the item is, so I could call this item. Okay, and then whatever is returned from filter needs to be true or false. If it's true, it stays in the array. If it's false, it is removed from the array. So if all of these are the equivalent of false, then all I do is return the item itself, because it's either truthy or falsy. And if it's falsy, it just gets removed. So where it was undefined, it removes those undefines from the array. Okay, so that's all we're doing here is if the item is truthy, then keep it, and if it's not, then remove it. Okay, on to number 23. Item between arrays. Create a function that accepts an array, any other value, and an array. Return a new array that includes all elements from the first array, the value, then all the elements from the last array. Spread syntax is useful here. Spread syntax.
Red syntax.
Yeah, here's a good one. This one says confirm the results by debugging or printing to the console. That's dumb. Why didn't they just do it for us? That should be easy to write asserts around.
Yeah, lazy.
Yeah, right?
He's like, I'm tired. I'm ready to do it.
I remember thinking, I'm done writing tests. Nobody likes to write tests. So I guess just console log and make sure that they match. That's stupid. We should just, here, do this. Let's take all of these, like this, and we'll write we'll take this, and then we'll take this little arrow thing, and we'll select all the arrow things, and then we'll say comma instead, and then we'll surround these in this, and then we'll say assert dot is equal, maybe? I don't remember.
Yes.
I forgot.
Randy.
Deep
Randy.
Sure. and it's only assert instead of asserts. And then we pull assert from here. And then we put console.log great success at the bottom. And go. Haha.
Oh, I missed the one.
Oh, we need yeah, I ran 23. What? Oh, we also need to name our function
Can I do the what?
the in between.
Guess I have to put it all in.
So we need to select all of these and put that, and then the in between, and select all of these and put this, except for that last one that I selected. Oh, I did it wrong again, you guys. We actually want to do it off of that one. Maybe I'll just copy and paste this into Slack for you all. Yay. Also, you need this one at the top. So this line goes at the top and these lines go at the bottom.
Okay.
And then I have decided upon the name of the function for you all. You're welcome.
You did?
Yeah,
You did.
it's called the in between because it didn't tell you what to name the function. So,
I noticed that.
you know, naming is like the hardest thing in programming. So I've probably told you the joke already. The three hardest things in programming: naming and off by one errors, naming and off by one errors. Did everybody get the joke? It was a dad joke, a programming dad joke.
To say it again?
The three hardest things in programming are naming things and off by one errors.
So you're gonna go into a
Oh,
handlebar
I
thing?
get it.
No, I could have when I originally
I mean,
grew.
you still can,
I could, but
cause you don't want this to be as long as the top anyway, yeah? You get
What?
a handlebar? What? You don't want these,
Yeah.
the handles to be as like long,
no.
cause then they'll come
I
off.
probably won't keep this very long.
He's going for that 60, 70 look, man.
Yeah,
That's what he's doing here.
it's very popular right now.
Yeah, it is. You bet everything missing
It's
is
extremely hip.
sideburns
I feel
and
like they've been since like,
we can get you a wig. You
Yeah.
can have one of those
like as soon as
Beatles.
the beard craze ended, the beards and scars.
That'd be scary if you came looking like one of the Beatles.
Beard, scars, flannels, and boots.
Yeah.
Imagine the following string represents a 2D program.
Did you finish this already?
Yeah,
Okay.
because it's the last one. Or not the last one, the one before the last one.
The 24.
24.
But we're on 23 right now.
Yeah, no.
You
I'm
finished
saying
23?
I finished 23 because it's 21.
Because 21?
It's the same thing.
It's almost the same thing.
Yeah.
It's almost the same thing as 21. So if everybody already did 21, they could look at 21 and figure out how to do 23 is what Christian is saying.
Thanks, Kristen.
Nudge, nudge. Go check on it real quick, see if it's named.
Oh yeah, that's a good idea. They'll be super excited you did that.
Can't wait till next Thursday.
What's next Thursday?
They all go home.
Oh yeah, your family's still gone.
And Friday
You should have gone to Mars.
Yeah, you could've,
I think I'll go, because you know what, the trips to Oahu are really cheap right now. I think I'll go to Oahu and meet them
I
at
was
the
just
airport.
thinking
Are
about
they
that.
going to Oahu?
Well, yeah, they have to stop over in Oahu for like 4 hours.
Oh.
And because of
Could
all the
you,
restrictions
can
and all
you
that,
somehow get back on the same plane that they're coming back on?
It's not named.
I'm working on that. I'm trying to do it under the table, so I don't want her
It's
to know
not
that.
named, but it's
I don't want them to know I'm gonna be in Oahu. So I'm trying to be like, so what time is your flight get there again? How long is your layover? Those kind of questions without giving it away.
Well, if you can figure out what time it comes in at, you can figure out which flight it is. If
Exactly.
you know the airline.
Exactly. Well, I have the printout. I just
Oh,
gotta go look
You
at
just
it.
need the flight number then.
Exactly.
That's easy.
Easy enough. Because if I have the hers, then I can put in mine. So it takes what, $30-something one way?
Yeah, it's 30 each way, I think.
God, that's easy. I'm going.
Depending on which airline, right?
Yeah. Yeah, so I'll probably do.
Could be up to like
Hawaii.
40,
Yeah.
depending.
It's easy. I work extra hours this whole month, so.
Perfect.
What?
Yes.
So we doing this one? You ready? Everybody looked at number 21 and figured out how to do it, right? You're gonna return array 1 as a spread, and then put item into the array, and then return array 2 as a spread. And then great success. I like that that one says great success. It's almost like I made it. Right? So essentially the same thing as 21, just with an item in the middle.
Every time I see it, I think of Dexter.
Success.
Alright, on to 24.
Yeah, that one's optional.
Oh
I
yeah.
don't know how it works.
Mine's in the marquee.
What, 23?
Never mind.
24 I'm not gonna do,
Oh, I know.
Why?
because I don't want to.
Because he just doesn't want
I don't want to.
It's optional.
I want to know how it works.
Okay, figure it out.
Oh, look at him.
I'll just Google
Now he
it.
puts his foot down.
Okay. So that's fine with me.
So which one are we not doing?
The last one.
Oh.
Unless you want to on your own. It says it's optional.
Yeah.
So
I did success.
I needed to see.
Pathfinder, happy coding.
So, if you'd like to do number 24, you're welcome to. We will not be doing it in class today.
Oh. That's another way of saying, okay, moving on.
Moving on. I don't want to do it.
Yeah, we can do something else.
Cool. So, and the rest of the Hotel of Horrors, I'm going to let you all do. Right? Okay. So that means, how close is everybody on the Hotel of Horrors? No, you're done. You two are where we were at last
Yeah,
time.
Yeah, we're behind.
Sharice is almost.
I don't have a working checkout. My checkout doesn't work yet.
but your check-in is completely done with all the validation, and checkout was working before you came to class, and it broke while you were driving. Just something along that effect, right? It was pretty close.
I have stuff in it.
Okay.
I'll say that.
Kamalani, you're also close, right?
There's certain like check functions in my checkout that don't work. Like when I don't know, like when I'm putting the cap amount in the book and then in the checkout, there,
Yeah.
it'll still check out one if they don't match, if that makes sense. But it's just little things like that.
So the checkout just takes a name or just a number and you just remove it. So all you're checking in the checkout is it actually checked in? Right? So you like, it really doesn't even matter on the checkout to check and make sure that there's somebody staying there, except for that maybe for the person that's running the hotel may have put the wrong number in and hit go, and so the app's just telling them nobody was actually in that room, so you're good, right? But the only validation that really matters is they gave you a room number that's in the list of rooms, which means that it's less than however many the total amount of rooms is, which is the capsule count.
I have all of the ones that you gave to, I think it was Christian and that one.
Okay.
I don't know, they're just not working right.
Okay.
So if any of the checkouts, if the capsule number is, if the capsule number is less than 100 equal to, is that, will that,
Yeah.
yeah?
If it's less than the capsule count, then it's an okay number.
Okay.
As long as on check-in nobody's in there, and on checkout, yeah,
Okay.
you can check, and it's probably better to check and say nobody was actually in that room, but I don't think that was a requirement. So, so I'm going to assign more work then and start the sprint maybe on Tuesday. So we'll give you till Tuesday to finish the hotel where everybody's pretty close. We'll tell Travis when he gets back. He'll be super excited. So Capsule Hotel done by Tuesday. We're gonna start a new sprint on Tuesday. And then we'll end that sprint on a regular Thursday, so it'll just be a little bit longer too, like a couple days.
Is it not supposed to be the case where the checkout capsule number has to be within the booking capsule number?
No.
Or it has
So the way the hotel works is these two forms are completely separate. You're either checking someone in or checking them out. Right? So you're going to fill this out on check-in and the number and hit book it. And then you're going to fill this one out on checkout and hit checkout, and that should take this back to a green and put unoccupied there. That's all checkout does. It doesn't rely on these at all.
Mine only works if they're the same. If the capsule number in book is the same as the two number in checkout. And that's my problem.
Like in the form?
In the form, but
You
it
don't
has
need-
to be filled out.
You don't need to do that.
You have to have 20 in the top form, like capsule number, and 20 in the bottom?
Correct. That's the only way I can check them out.
Interesting.
Yeah.
I think you're probably checking the capsule number
Yeah.
input up here rather than the capsule number input down here.
I'm
These
checking
these
the
are
capsule-
different capsule
I'm checking them
inputs.
both against each other is what's happening.
You don't need to do that.
So, can you delete that? leave it 8 there, and then check out. Okay, and then we put 8 in the numbers.
Yeah, you don't need to check those.
Interesting. So you're calling. Man, why are you checking this one? Where's your checkout?
Because
Right
I'm
here?
confused about all of these variables and I don't know which one is exactly to use.
So, with that being said, the next sprint we are going to start into actual React. Yay! So, what you'll be excited to know is React is just JavaScript with HTML in it, which is amazing.
Just keep saying this.
Which, Tailwind?
Yeah, that's the reason we've spent so. No, Tailwind is just CSS.
Oh, okay. Oh,
It's
that's
just a
right.
CSS framework. So React is just JavaScript. That's why we spent so much time trying to learn regular JavaScript. Is you're going to write normal, everyday JavaScript in React.
Okay.
Okay.
Very nice.
Yes.
And what are these?
So, for the next sprint, we're going to start on this JavaScript debugging and go through the end of this. There's a load more button, so don't think that it's done when you scroll to the bottom. It goes down to the end of Survey React. And this will be a little bit longer sprint probably because there's an exercise that's 2 parts. There's this part and then there's this part. But there's this fetch API and promises. A lot of this again is going to be review, right? Because we had what was the project we did from Front End Mentors, like a quote generator or something like that. Okay, we used fetch API for that.
Yeah.
And promises async await. Okay, so going from this one to this one, you just start using an API for it, and it teaches you how to do that in React. So this one will be new. These 2 will be review. This one will be new. This one will be a review. This one will be new. 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 This one will be mostly review, I think, because we did some module stuff in our JavaScript. This will be review. We've already used NPM. And this JavaScript debugging, you'll probably already know all of this because we've been writing JavaScript a lot and we've been debugging it a lot. So a lot of the reading is review, and then the exercises are going to be where it's fun. So there's 3 exercises, I think. Let's see. This components exercise,
There's one above
that was the capsule hotel.
that. Oh, that's capsule.
Yeah.
Okay, Sweet.
So this components one is it teaches you what to do, and it says you're going to move all of this within the source folder. So it tells you you're going to run create React app, right? So I'm assuming before this it teaches you how to use create React app, but it's fairly easy. You already have everything installed for it. If it tells you to go install Node or anything like that, you already have it. So please don't try and reinstall Node. It will create bad times if you have too many instances of Node. Plus, I think we installed N, right? So we could change our Node version easy. So you're going to run create React app, and then it's going to tell you remove all these files, change your index HTML to look like this, then remove all these files, update the app.js to look like this, and then remove everything in the CSS file, and make the index.js look like this, and then it gives you some stuff to do, and then you just follow this pretty much exactly what it says. It's just giving you a chance to get used to creating React components, which is just HTML inside of JavaScript. Okay, so this should be fairly straightforward, this exercise, and it shouldn't take very long. The capsule hotel and the other exercise were a lot harder. This one's going to be the easiest exercise of the 5 exercises in this module. And then there's the to-do app,
Yet
which,
another-
what?
Yet another.
Yes, it's another to-do app, which you're going to create with Create React app. It wants you to use Bootstrap. I think we should use Tailwind. So on Tuesday, we'll set up this application with everyone. And then we'll set up Tailwind in React, so you don't have to figure out how to do that. And then that way you're ready to go on your to-do app, even if you're not ready to go to start on your to-do app. Okay? So it's going to give you some information on how to build this to-do app, and then I think that's it. I need to make sure this is right though, because I changed the way the to-do this. So this module was built with the idea that it would be part of a Java Spring Boot module. So it had like some Java stuff in it, and I removed it all. So I need to make sure that this matches the API we'll be using instead of the Java one that they were telling us to use. So I already changed the other one, but I just need to make sure these match. So any questions on the sprint coming up? So we'll start this sprint on Tuesday. We'll finish Capsule Hotel on Tuesday. The exercises we already did, all of us together. So you just gotta get Capsule Hotel done on your own by Tuesday.
What was the first exercise? What was the point of it? What was the goal?
It's just to teach you how to use,
Just to use it.
yeah.
That's it, okay.
So, because you're going to do a bunch of reading on JSX, so this will be the first time that you use JSX, like personally use it. So it's like it's like a hello world thing, right? Like make a header here, put this text in it, make this here, put this in it, so you get used to building and what it looks like to build HTML in JavaScript. So that makes sense?
Mhm.
Okay, any questions? Okay. We've seen a little bit of React already, so some of this should look familiar when you get into it. But does anybody have any questions about React before we start into React next week?
You're using vanilla JavaScript in there, right? So
Yeah, you just use JavaScript. Yes, but with React on top, sprinkled. Yeah,
Is this another 2 week sprint?
it'll be a little bit longer because we'll start it on Tuesday,
Mm.
but we'll go 2 weeks from next Thursday.
2.5.
So we would have started it today. We're gonna go till Tuesday for this sprint, and then we'll go 2 weeks from next Thursday to the end of that sprint.
And does it end at performance JSX or?
It goes all the way to the survey. Okay, and then you guys can't see the security one yet, can you? Okay. The security one, I'm gonna have to like really change things because it has a ton of Java stuff in it. So I may just throw it away and not use it at all. We'll see.
Why did they name Java so similarly to JavaScript?
Java was out first, so why did they name JavaScript so similar to Java? I
You
don't
said
know.
name what? You said why they name it?
Yeah,
Yeah.
'cause every time someone says Java, I'm like, oh, JavaScript?
Yeah, see, that's the
But
thing.
no,
Yeah.
it's completely different.
Yeah,
Yeah.
they're not even at all similar.
Exactly. One is the big boss who says no space, no change, and the other one's like,
Whatever.
whatever you want to try,
Yeah.
you can do it here. I know,
So-
so it makes you think that they're similar, but they're not.
Yeah.
So after React, we're also gonna do some Node, which is just JavaScript, but it's for server. So we'll create an API for that to-do application eventually. We'll probably do a little bit more React stuff first. And then that would be the end, right? Is the React and the Node, and that's all we would do. I'm wondering if you are all interested in learning TypeScript, which is just JavaScript with strong types.
I want to learn everything.
I've
we
heard
can.
it before.
Okay, so TypeScript is essentially the same thing we're doing, but let me I'll give you a little teaser on TypeScript, and you can tell me if it's interesting or if it will be too much. So, let's see. Okay, so I think I can do build, or you know what? Let's look at TypeScript's getting started and just follow whatever they say. Docs. Basics. npm.im/TypeScript. That's not what I want. Here. Oh, that's right. So I'm just going to copy a tsconfig from a different project. We'll do prettier as well. And then we'll do tsconfig. Okay, so with TypeScript I have this config. We've used ESLint a little bit. This is kind of the same type of config, but this tells me where all of my stuff will be. This is a React config, so it includes this React JSX stuff. It expects that I'm going to put all of my TypeScript in this source folder, and then I'm using prettier, so it's npm-i-d prettier. I don't think I need all that. Can do ESLint and ESLint plugin prettier. I guess we'll do all that and then we'll see what we need. I need Babel or any of that. So I'm gonna go here and get rid of all the Babel stuff because I don't think I need any of that. So I'm just gonna write TypeScript. Okay, so we'll say build. It's gonna be TSC source star.ts, and we're gonna send it to build. I think it's input output. So when we do TypeScript, most of this will just get set up for us because we'll do it in React. And there's a way to run create React app to do it in TypeScript. Okay, but this will just give us a little idea of what TypeScript does. I'll create source index.ts. Okay, so TypeScript has a .ts file extension. If you're in React, you use .tsx if it's a React component, but TS would just be regular JavaScript, no React in it at all. Okay. So if I wanted to create a function, in fact, let's look at some of the functions we created for our little JavaScript thing that we just did. Let's open a new one, open recent, and so let's look at number 23. Okay, so here is our in between. Okay, let's say export just so that that's the reason that one was mad, because const doesn't get used or whatever. Okay, so we can see these three are giving us an error. That's because it says that we are implicitly making this an any type, right? So you can pass anything to this, the in between, as array1, and this function will still run. What TypeScript does is it allows us to say all of our parameters have a specific type that we're expecting them to be. And if we start to use TypeScript in a way that would allow us to pass something that's not that type in, then we get an error. So we get an error before our code goes out rather than when our code is out. Okay, so it's a build time error is before, and runtime error is while it's there. Okay, so what we would do is we would type it like this. So you put a colon and then the type that you're expecting. In this case, we're expecting this to be an array. So we could just put open and close array, and that gives us array1 is type array. Item 2 could be anything, and so we're going to say it could be anything. So we don't get the error anymore because we're explicitly telling it it could be any, and we're not implicitly telling it that. And then array 2 is going to be an array. Okay, so now if I called all of those things here, right, on this, oh, I can do imports in here. Import assert. And it's mad because can't find it. Maybe node assert. We'll not worry about that. So instead of these, we'll just do console.log Okay, so now this is mad because an array of numbers is not the same as an array. Okay, so we could say any array and any array, which says that anything you pass in the array is okay. It's an array of anything. So typically you wouldn't want to use any very often, but because of the way these tests were written, we have to. Okay, whereas down here, these two would allow us to do these as string arrays and strings. Okay, so that's typically in TypeScript you're going to want stuff like this instead. And we would say string array, but spell string correctly, and string, and then string array. So, and then you can see here we have a type error because we're passing in an array here, and we said this should just be a string. Okay, so this is the kind of stuff that TypeScript allows you to see up front when you're writing TypeScript, as opposed to seeing it in the backside. Because I expect this to be a string and I get an array here, then I'm going to have errors.
So the practical implications of TypeScript is just being upfront about errors.
Yeah, so it's to reduce runtime errors,
Right.
which happen a lot in JavaScript because JavaScript allows you to have loosely based types,
It's not
right?
Java yet. You can just do
Yeah.
whatever.
So you could have a variable change types by, doing whatever. So like we talked about, we could have an array. Uh, 1, 2, 3, 4, right? And then a second array, 4, 5, 6, 7. Okay, and then we have our merge function, right? That we're expecting. So remember when we were merging the two arrays?
Yep.
Okay, and we wanted to make sure that it didn't overlap.
Right.
So let's name these different just so we know. So we're expecting this to be, we'll just say number array because that's what we ended up doing, and it'll be less likely to cause issues. And then we call merge array and we pass it first and second. Why is this mad? Cannot be compiled under isolated modules because it's considered a global script file. Add an import, export, or an empty export statement to make it a module. Okay, we'll just export this. Alright, so when we call this merge array, what we were doing was we were returning the reduce, right? So we'd say array 1 and array 2 dot reduce previous current and then it was supposed to be an array. Okay, so and then what we were doing here was we were saying if previous dot contains or includes contains, then return previous, else return previous current. Okay, so this is mad because we haven't told it what the types are, right? So this should be an number array, and this should be a number. Okay, now it's okay, but if I was to say, if not previous, or if not current, return 0, then I get an error because these won't match up. So it's type number is not assignable to type number array. Type number 0 is not assignable to type number array. Okay, so we get this error because it's possible when this function runs for me to return a number here when I'm expecting this to always be a number array, right? What if I returned true? So I'd have the same issue because it's saying this type true or number array is not assignable to the type number array. So somewhere in your code you have a bug that changes, even though in JavaScript this is totally fine. In TypeScript it says no, that won't work because you're expecting this to be a number array and somewhere you're changing the type and you're going to have broken code
So when you use TypeScript,
all the time.
Yeah, because I was wondering, because I know Java is used by like major corporations and companies, you know,
Yeah.
and, you know, and then maybe JavaScript is everybody else, so
So
TypeScript is, who's that? Who normally use TypeScript? Just whoever wants to?
yeah, so it just depends if you want to write JavaScript or TypeScript. They're essentially, I mean, TypeScript just compiles back to JavaScript.
Right.
So now let's go, I have this, right? So let's copy this, and there's a TypeScript playground. Okay, so if I throw this in here, this is my TypeScript, and then this is what TypeScript would compile. So look familiar? It's essentially what we wrote as our JavaScript, right?
Yep.
So this has type safety, and then it just compiles back to this. This is what actually gets ran in the browser.
Oh, okay. it's
So
just-
the browser doesn't run TypeScript.
okay.
We write it and
Just
compile
translates
it, yeah. And so now if I run, let's see. Not found, the file's in the program because, okay, let's just change it so it runs just that one file. Index. Okay, property includes does not exist on type number array. Do you need to change your target library? Try changing the lib compiler option to yes to 2016 or, okay, so it's gotta be something in here. Oh my gosh. Can I do yes next? That's done. Oh, it's lib. How's yes next? Let's just get rid of the config and see what it does. Come on. Okay. Well, obviously it does work because I have it here and it's fine, but just my setup is wrong. So, when I run this, it would ideally, let's say, let's just run it like that, because that should be fine. Shouldn't throw any errors for that. Okay, so now if we look in the build folder, we'd get a little bit more because this also is setting it up so that it because it's trying to make it work in older browsers, right? Whereas, I wonder if I can take the TS config for this. Anyway, so so I can take my code after I've written it in TypeScript, and then I can build it out and get the JavaScript. And this is the JavaScript that would do essentially that same thing in an older browser that doesn't allow for spreads and include and that kind of stuff. That's why it wrote all this extra code. Is it's doing concats and slices instead of doing the spread operator. So, because I didn't give it the target. So, but yeah, this is so this is the TypeScript I'm writing at work right now. Is the project I'm writing is all in TypeScript,
Oh, okay.
and then the other project here. So this is a
And this-
job.
Basically because you're doing so much and you want to make sure that you catch those
Yeah,
errors.
it's just an extra way. So there, you can write unit tests and you can write TypeScript. Those two things together kind of keep the bugs down.
Yeah, because I mean, it's kind of difficult if you do it
Mhm.
JavaScript, then you can get lost in the.
Yeah, yeah. Because I mean, here's the source files for this app. It's got
Oh,
a
yeah,
bunch
so
of
it's just-
components
That makes
and
sense then.
yeah, pages upon pages upon pages, prototypes, all sorts of stuff. So it just makes it a lot easier. And then also it adds some IntelliSense. So if I'm in here and I need to use like this use account, right? And I don't remember what the values are in it, then if I go here, here are all the values in it. Because I use TypeScript, VS Code can look at that file and see all the types that are in it,
Right.
and then tell me what the values are. So it gives me some IntelliSense. I don't have to go look up the use account file and look through it. It'll just have it in my so that, for me, this is the reason I started writing TypeScript, was because I hated looking at stuff. I didn't really like TypeScript because I didn't feel like I needed the type safety.
Exactly.
But the IntelliSense that I get, like the dev tooling, is the reason I like it.
I mean, is that something you incorporate when when you become just stronger as a coder, or is something that's better for even for
The type stuff.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, TypeScript. You're gonna probably see a lot of jobs that want you to do TypeScript,
Oh, okay.
but it'll be like we use TypeScript and React. As long as you're familiar with one or the other,
Okay.
they'll typically teach you. But yeah, so like some of these will have other stuff on them. So let's see, set initial. Use dot. So and then it tells me what this is and what it has on it. Right, has accounts and active account ID. So there's that part of it is the reason I like it. It's
Okay.
super nice as far as that goes. So if we have time at the end, we can do some TypeScript, and we'll probably just do it within React, so you get an idea of how it works in React, as opposed to doing like TypeScript projects. Okay. Cool. Any questions on the rest of the stuff for the sprint?
Nope.
For the capital hotel, assigning things to local storage, is that difficult? No?
Are you trying so that you can keep what's in there?
Yeah. I'm just go back over.
So do I still have the Capsule Hotel open? No, but I should be able to open it quickly. Okay, so what you'd want to do is you'd want to keep like an object of all of the rooms, right? So you could have like guest info, which is just an empty object. And then when you book, you'd say guest info, and then what I would do is I would say equals or guest info, and then give it the room number as your key. Does that make sense? Yeah.
Okay.
So or you could just make guest info, let's just do this, let guest info, and make it an array. And we could say guest info equals, or yeah, push, and we'll just push a, it would be guest name and capnum, is that what we called it?
That's the
Yeah.
input value for the form.
Yeah. So, and you could call this, you could do name and room, like that, however you want. And then, it'd be local storage dot set item, and then you name it. So this would be, you know, capsule hotel data, whatever you want it to be. And then you take your guest info, but you need to stringify it. So it's JSON stringify guest info, and that sets it. Okay. And then on your init function, you would need to get the capsule information. So you'd say const capsule data equals local storage dot get item, and then it'd be capsule hotel data, and then you'd want to if capsule data, and we probably want to let this, and capsule data equals JSON dot parse capsule data to turn it back into an object or an array in this case. And then you would loop through this, or while you're looping through this, you would look for, you know, based on whatever room number you're on, and fill in this information from that. So, or you could just create, you could have like an initial state where you create all of the rooms as unoccupied and then store that in local storage and then only pull it from local storage. So if there wasn't capsule data, you create it and then always just loop through and take all the rooms. So, but if you push like this, you also need to look through the guest info and make sure that that room isn't already in the guest info, right? So, but if you've already checked, like to make sure that the form or the current state doesn't have anybody in there, most likely you're fine to do this. And then in the checkout, you'd also need to take that one out. So, but you could just use a filter.
And from then on, it's just reference.
Yeah. So, and that puts it, so when you use local storage, so if we were to, let's see, if I was to set this, I'm not running anymore. So if I was to set this now, right, and then I go, if you go to your application tab in DevTools, there's a local storage drop down here, and there's my capsule hotel data, and it has an array with my name and room, but you'll notice like it's all in strings. So if I go to console and I say local storage dot get item capsule hotel data, then it's like this weird string. And so JSON parse is gonna turn it back into an array that I can use.
Okay.
Is the JSON stringify. is gonna,
Maybe that root string.
yeah, it makes it into a stringified version.
Okay.
So, and you can only store strings in local storage. That's why you have to stringify your object or array before you can store it.
So then you have to parse it when you're
Yeah.
using it.
But the problem is if, let's say let's try and stringify something that doesn't exist. So then I get this null, and then if I try and use it, I end up with issues.
Yeah. That's-
What
Yeah.
is the difference between JSON parse and JSON stringify?
So parse is going to take the string and parse it out to an array or an object. Stringify is going to take the array or the object and turn it into a string. So if I have JSON stringify, well, like I did here, right? It takes this array and makes it into a string. Let's see if I did an object instead. ID is 1, name is AJ. And then I parse or I stringify that, it puts it in this string. And then if I was to take this and run parse on it, it's gonna put it back into an object. So, yeah, so that's the local storage stuff.
Are we gonna be using that on future projects
Local storage?
maybe? Yeah.
No, probably not. We can if you want to, but I use it a little bit if I have to persist data in between sessions. But for the most part, you're going to use an API to do that. And so if you need to save something, because local storage is good if you're writing something that's never going to be used on anybody else's computer.
Mm.
But anytime you switch computers, you'll no longer have that storage
Yeah.
because it's only on this machine, right? So I use local storage if I need to persist like something small that doesn't matter if I don't have it on another machine when I log into it. But most users are going to expect that if they change something here, it'll work there.
Yeah.
So
Account-based storage.
yeah, I use local storage on like little tiny projects for myself that I know will only ever work on my computer.
Like what?
Games that I play for like write for my kids or something like that. So yeah, so just like little things, but you will use it from time to time. So it is good to know how it works, but it's not something I feel like will. I think working with an API is going to be more important to know how to do than local storage. Local storage is pretty easy once you actually look into it and use it. But yeah,
Okay.
we use it from time to time.
Okay. I guess I was kind of wondering, like, making this an app, how it would be used, but now
So-
using APIs makes sense.
Yeah, so like this you could use local storage to persist stuff, and that's a good way to do it right now. But if I was to actually make this for somebody, I would build an API.
Yeah.
That
So
would store
way
it.
they
Yeah.
can Use it to manage it.
Yeah. So with this local storage stuff though, there's Firebase. Have you heard of Firebase? So it's like a object store that Google bought.
Yeah.
Um,
Doesn't pass executive.
Yeah, it is Google. It wasn't originally. Google bought it. But it allows you to take just JSON objects and push them up, and they'll store that way. And I think it uses stringifies, but it has like its own API library that you use, and you just give it the data, and it'll go store it, and then bring it back down. So we might play around with Firebase a little bit.
Okay.
So that way you can have pretty much immediate APIs without having to write them, which is nice. So
Our phone, we save the password keychains, where do they get that from? Like when it autofills, where do they,
that's just saved in your browser.
just in the browser?
Yeah. Yeah, that's just a browser thing.
Well, there's like the keychain access too.
Yeah, keychain on Apple, it just depends on where you store it. So if you're using Safari, it stores it in keychain. If you're using Chrome, Chrome has its own key storage that's built into the browser.
The keychain is a separate app.
Yeah. Keychain's an Apple app.
Time for a trailer.
The trade.
Predator.
Oh. Predators?
Yeah, 2010.
Right.
Predators.
You put Redditors.
I did.
I like that.
Oh, that's a weird one.
2000, there it is. 2010.
That's his name?
Watch now on.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, there it was.
There we go.
Oh, no. It's this one, right?
Yep,
What I'm doing here.
that's the one.
What's the last thing you remembered? All of a sudden there was a light, and then
I need to stop